Well, I've been enjoying my holidays for a while here, and I guess it's time to make a new video, and what better way to make a new video than with how corrupt the media is. In case people don't know, there is a YouTuber called Millennial Woes. He is fairly influential in that he has around 21,000 subscribers. He also has attended events like, I believe, Amrin, NPI for sure, I know that one. I don't know if he's been to Amrin. Neither here nor there. Anyways, he expresses kind of right-wing views. People can classify it as alt-right or what have you, or nationalistic. But anyways, there has been some interesting things transpiring, and he released a video called Fugitive Woes, which I think is a little hyperbolic. But he says that there is a bunch of misleading and outrageous articles, malicious and hideously, or possibly libelous. And then he goes on to state he doesn't hate women, Jews, Muslim, gays, etc., etc. And then he goes on to state, in order to avoid further encounters with journalists, I have left Britain. I no longer live with any relatives. I'm being sheltered by fans abroad. An interesting move, and it seems kind of strange that a few journalists would write a few things and you would just flee the country into exile. Then he states that he might not be releasing videos anymore, and he asked for some donations so that he can continue on living and such for the next few months or what have you, because essentially his YouTube channel was his job. First, it kind of seems very strange. Okay, the journalists and news, so-called, doxed you. They released your information, and okay, it will blow over, you'll live, right? The possibility of him going to jail, I would say unlikely, though certainly they are going to try to pursue things like that. So it's perhaps not exactly as hyperbolic to say that he's a fugitive. He's not quite one, but the possibility of him going to jail is actually fairly real because the hate crime laws in the UK are absolutely absurd. Saying something as simple as like, I don't think blacks belong in the UK, you can go to jail or be fined or something like that. Now, from what I can tell, it has been pretty much a long time coming, where the more popularity he's getting, the more he shows his face, the more he does speeches, more people, his opponents, are going to try to find out exactly who he is so they can do punitive things in order to punish and dissuade him from speaking his mind. Now, I could be wrong here, but I think it started with the Daily Record, and then places like The Mirror picked up on this. And here's an article that the Daily Record wrote, Meet the Vile Vlogger, whose racist rants have made him into a global internet sensation. The 34-year-old extremist YouTube star is a jobless ex-student who films his hate-filled videos from a bedroom at his dad's place. Now, there's a lot of kind of backhanded slander there, which is very peculiar, particularly coming from more quote-unquote left-wing people. Because if somebody on the right made this criticism of somebody on the left, like saying that blacks are jobless, or oh, these immigrants still live at home, or something like that, they would absolutely lose their mind. However, because it's not targeting any of their constituents, they can use these slurs with absolute impunity, saying that he's a jobless ex-student. Okay, well, who cares if he's an ex-student? Jobless? Well, technically, no. He makes money off of YouTube, and that then therefore is a job. Hate-filled videos? No. I've been actually subscribed to Millennial Woes for a very long time, and he's never been hateful. He might say some things that would definitely trigger people on the left, but never hateful. Never any sort of call to violence or anything like that. It's very bizarre. And then I also think it's kind of funny. Okay, he lives with his dad. Well, who cares? I mean, okay, he's 34 and lives with his parents. Unfortunately, a lot of people do, because the times we live in are a little bit different, and, well, that's a topic for another time, about kind of things like that. Now, there really isn't too much to report on this, and because the whole article itself is pretty much complete nonsense. Essentially, all it is saying, aha, we found who this person is, here's his name, we hate him, we find him despicable, and you should all hate him too, and we'll use such tremendous rhetoric, like his outbursts are despicable. I don't think he's ever had kind of an outburst. it's a it's a way to characterize people that you don't like in order to make your reader, by kind of default, the way you write it, you make your reader not like these people, even if they don't even know who they are. You just say, oh, well, they have outbursts, they're racist, they're unstable, and all these sorts of things. They're a loser, and they're like, oh, well, aha, don't like this guy because of the way he is being portrayed. When it could be completely divorced from reality. It doesn't matter. You are trying to convince your reader to hate this person. And you're also feeding into the hatred of your readers who already hate this person. And say, acting on information published on a Scottish blog website, 1,000 flowers. Oh. I just love the Marxist doublespeak. 1,000 flowers. It sounds so peaceful, right? Well, the Record visited his home yesterday to try to speak to Robertson, but no one answered the door. So this peaceful sounding blog, 1,000 flowers, doxed this person, and they revealed his home address. Now that doesn't sound very peaceful. Not at all. And we dive down this crazy rabbit hole and we go to 1,000 flowers blog. You can see in their article where they talk about Millennial Woes, a YouTuber openly admits to being anti-Semitic and holding extreme racist views. Although continues to insist that he does not run a rabid hate channel. Now that's interesting. The YouTuber openly admits to being anti-Semitic. My goodness. Okay, let's click on that link and go down those links and find out where exactly that is sourced. Going down that, it leads us to a forward.com thing, and then in that they source another thing, which is the Atlantic video. So let's watch the part where he openly claims he's an anti-Semite.
What is called the Jewish question, that there are problems with the Jewish people. And that was difficult because I really didn't want to become an anti-Semite. It's like the biggest cliche, the biggest right-wing cliche.
Yes, that's it. That's not really... The context isn't there. I mean, maybe the video's longer, maybe there's some things there, but that is by no means, no stretch of the imagination, openly admitting to being anti-Semitic. That's saying, yeah, I found that there are problems with Jewish people. And what he means by that, it's not really elaborated on. Who knows? And then he says he didn't want to become anti-Semitic. There could be an implication there that I didn't want to, but hey, I am now, but I'm not entirely convinced that's what he said. Or that's what he means at all. It's just saying, I didn't want to become anti-Semitic. It's a cliche. And it could be perceived that questioning Jews or their influence or anything like that is by default then anti-Semitic. But I don't have that standard for everyone else. If somebody criticizes white people, I don't immediately say they're anti-white. If people criticize black, I don't say they're immediately anti-black. So then we can conclude that you can point out problems and say Jewish people, white people, black people without hating them. So there just isn't enough information there to say that he outright admits to being anti-Semitic, because it's just not there. You're drawing a conclusion that you can't draw. Now, I don't know. I know that he went to a liberal arts school or whatever, arts college. I don't know if he graduated or anything like that, but what I find interesting is that the source these other things like the Mirror and whatever that other one was, they're drawing from this. And in this one, they say that although he graduated from a prestigious London art college in the mid-2000s, okay, so they state right there, he graduated from a London art college. But all the other news articles, they don't say that he is a college graduate. Instead, they turn a phrase and try to use that as a sort of insult, a way to make you think that he's a dropout. He's not a college graduate. No, he's an ex-student. Now you see, everyone else who would use that term ex-student, you would think, oh well, he didn't finish school. Because obviously, logically thinking, that's what that means. Oh, he's an ex-student, he was a student, and then he dropped out before he graduated. It's very dubious that they would use that term instead, isn't it? And it's just kind of the oddity where these things just go, oh well, he's these words, these buzzwords, these virtue signaling words, he is hate filled, he is a racist. Now, people who are of the same ideology hear these words and go, aha, yes, I know exactly what that means. That means that we hate this person, and that's kind of the whole discussion there is to have. He's a racist, that's the entire conversation. There isn't really any evidence presented to really say that, okay, here is why he is a racist. Because he said this, and that, and then here's by the definition, and such like that, and here's why this is immoral, and things like that. No, it's not a highbrow intellectual discussion or anything like that. It's just, he's a racist, yeah. And it's very typical, unfortunately, of media. I had this same thing happen to me not long ago with the whole Paradox interactive thing and games media, where they didn't address me. Instead, they were just like, he's a racist. And it can be aggravating to no end. Just how intellectually dishonest these people are. They don't have a real conversation. It is just there to maintain a narrative and push a political agenda. And it's very unfortunate. And that's pretty much about all there is to discuss with those 3 articles, if you can call them that. Basically, it's just like reading a high school gossip thing. It's not really substance, it's just like, oh, this person, I don't like them, or what have you. But let's take a step away from that and focus more on the situation Millennial Woes is in. I'm not going to use his real name. It's there. If you want to know, you can find out. It's already been revealed somewhat in this video, but I personally won't call him that unless he starts calling himself that. I think it's just kind of a dick thing to dox someone like that, even if they've already been doxed. So did he overreact by just fleeing the country and going to exile? I don't think so. My first initial response was, that is a bit of an overreaction. You're fleeing the country just because of some bad press, but I think people, if they had never dealt with the media in their lives or anything like that, they can't really fully grasp how evil, for lack of better words, how evil they are. There isn't any other way to put it. These people will do anything in order to smear you, in order to defame you, in order to try to ruin your life. Now, for example, you can read through these articles, and because they never talked to him, they never got a chance to have an interview with him or anything, but you know what they did do? They went around his small town to all of his neighbors and talked to every single one and presented him as a racist, and they had basically kind of confessionals, if you will, where they're like, oh, your neighbor, he's a vile racist. What do you think of this vile racist? Do you condone racism? Then all the people, of course, are like, no, I think what he said is inappropriate. They're opposite of my views, and all these sorts of things. So what they're doing is they're driving a wedge between him and his community. They're trying to isolate him. And it's just a horrific thing to do to someone. I wouldn't try to ostracize and demonize and try to essentially force someone into exile in their own community where they can live there, but everyone, the narrative is out there, they're going to look at him strange. They essentially ruined him in his own little community, and it's horrible. And they're going to keep harassing his family. They even said multiple times, they went up to his door and knocked on it and no one responded. They even called the cops on the reporters. The situation he is in, basically his whole community is being turned against him in the public eye. They're basically putting a mic in front of people and saying, do you denounce this horrible racist? Yes, of course I do. It's very isolating. How can you just go back to a normal life? Just walking down your street and, oh, that neighbor there, he hates me. He didn't stand up for me in any way. These people are all cowards. And putting your family through that horrible stress of having the media constantly harass you simply because, oh, well, the media kind of gets a free pass to harass people. No, it's a terrible thing to put your family through, and it's a terrible thing for yourself to go through. Now, it is a little hyperbolic. I mean, as I said, there is a chance that maybe charges could be because the UK is insane. Their laws are absolutely nuts. So it is a possibility that he could face charges because insanity. So maybe fleeing the country and going into a kind of exile is the smart thing. That's kind of all I have to say about it, I suppose. It's just kind of a shit show. And really, I'm sure Millennial Woes should have known that this was coming from a mile away. All your videos show your face. Everything you do, you go to conferences, you show your face and things like that. You are essentially a public figure. And the more you grow, the more likely it is that you are going to be doxxed. Your identity is going to be found out, and there's going to be a shitstorm. It happens every single time. Now, maybe he's a little naive. Maybe he thought that he could just stay anonymous or what have you. But that's just, unfortunately, not how it works. And as a public figure, you will be found out. Simple as that. Probably, at least as I would theorize, that he probably should have better prepared himself for this. He should have known this was coming. He should have known what would happen. But to be fair, not many people know exactly what happens when the media really clamps their jaws down on you. Anyways, to wrap this up, there's a lot of things I don't agree with Millennial Woes and things like that, but I do think that we are kind of more on the same side politically, and we are essentially fighting for the same end goals. So I don't know what's going to happen to him. I don't know how well off he is or what happens with his donations or anything like that. But if you feel so inclined as to support him, I will have links to his PayPal and things like that, and links to his channel, so you can see how this unfolds and see what happens. I hope he continues making videos, and I hope that he doesn't let media bullying stop him.